And you're listening to Ann Arbor's Talk Station, 1290 WLBY. This is one of those weekends, Damian Farrell, where everyone tries to get out of the kitchen, get out of the house, enjoy the great outdoors. But we're going to focus for our Damian on Design segment with Damian Farrell from Damian Farrell Design Group on indoors this weekend.
We are. We're going to take a break, excuse me, from our Michigan as a State of Design and do a little bit of trend stuff. Because I found some articles on stuff that, to me, I just couldn't resist. They need tomatoes thrown at them.
Oh, no. All right. The trends are going to be in the bathroom and the kitchen.
And kitchens.
For anyone anticipating redoing theirs, right?
Yes. And then for our humorous moment, just to top it off, we have a house plan that we want to dissect
Damian,
as well, out of a plan book.
Damian doesn't like the plan. I personally think it's very interesting. I could do that house.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
We'll talk about it.
Let's get there. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, okay.
First up, though, I wanted to mention when you watch all the home shows on TV today, you know, Love It or List It and everything going on, I noticed a trend, and that is the backsplash on both bathrooms and in kitchens with little mosaic tiles and different kinds of designs, very colorful.
Yes.
And it's funny how when people go into houses that are back from the 90s even or 80s, they say, oh, this is so dated. And it always amuses me because I'm like, aren't these new techniques also going to be dated in a few years when you do something that creative?
See, I don't think so.
Really?
And here's why. Mosaic tiles have been around for centuries, probably even 1,000 years, maybe 2,000 years. If you look at some of the Roman baths, for instance, all right, some of the detail from the high point of Greek civilization. Tiles have been around for that long, and mosaic tiles in particular. Now, whether they were made of glass, well, in those days they were made mainly of terracotta or ceramic and then glazed, obviously. Mm-hmm. What we're seeing now is a much more wide variety of materials. So we have mosaics made out of stone, made out of glass, made out of ceramic, and some of them are natural looking. They have their natural finishes to them. I don't think mosaics are an idea whose time has come and will go. I think they may come back, or they may continue in different forms. But the art of mosaic has been around for too long for it to become fashion. I think what comes and goes in fashion in homes really has to do more with color than anything else. And also some of these marketing ideas. The naming of things, which, as you know, that's one thing that really gets me going, is when people give names to spaces in a house in order to make them sound more grand or something. It's a marketing ploy. It's not about how the house lives. See, the tiles that we all say, oh, that's so dated. It's that, remember the pink tiles, right?
Right.
And the powder blue tiles.
Yes. And
then the white ones with the bull nose, most of them from a good American company, American Olean. And then the avocados and that slight orange color that you can get, and the yellow. The palette was so limited when we go into those homes. That's all we had available. That's all they had available at that time. Now we have this extraordinary breadth of availability. And a lot of it is natural materials. Mm-hmm. So a lot of stone, marble, granites, travertine, all of these things. And the glazing of tiles has become such an art form that I just don't see that fading.
Do you remember back in the 70s, you would have been in South Africa then, but
yes.
Here in America it was big to put the fake brick up.
Oh, yes. Yeah, the beauty brick?
Yes!
Yeah. I'm glad in South Africa all we had was mud. So we got to taint or tint the mud, right. And have straw sticking out of it. That's how we finished the interior.
But I think back to that, and that was the cool thing to do back then.
It was beauty brick, right?
Yes.
And beauty stone.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. And we still do it. And I'm still taken, having grown up in the British and English system of building homes, where you use brick to build a house with, or a building with. You didn't build a building and then stick brick on the outside.
Right.
I mean, brick it's meant to be load bearing. It's a heavy, solid material.
Yeah. But
we still put it on as an application. We don't build.
Why is that?
I think because timber is so easily available in this country. We have so much of it. Mm-hmm. And that framing a wall, I think, requires less technical skill in some ways than laying a straight line of brick with even joints and so on.
Oh, that does make sense.
So there's a lost art there, I think, in masonry. Mm-hmm. All the beautiful different styles of coursing that you saw, in Europe throughout the centuries, different ways of tying brick walls together and so on, different patterns made out of brick. So I think that's what it is. Because I look back on the last, say, 2 decades, and I don't see, I mean, granite is still a favorite, right? It's still around. People are still using it for countertops, tile. Also, I'm just seeing variations on it and permutations.
What about with appliances? Like everyone wants the stainless steel today. There was a time when black was really white. What's that all about?
I think stainless steel is here to stay.
You do?
Same thing. It's been around too long now for me to think that it's going to be a trend. But we are seeing a pretty big resurge in white and black appliances. That it's no longer... that stainless steel doesn't necessarily communicate quality on its own, that you can get quality appliances that are finished in other materials. But here's a case in point. I know it's at the absolute absurd end, but La Cornue, the famous French cooking ranges, which really are just an adaptation of the ranges that, for instance, we grew up with in South Africa they were enormous because you fired them with coal. And so they created these incredibly hot kitchens in that tropical climate. But those stoves are still that color. Well, they are available in bright red, bright yellow, and any other color that you want. So there's one end of these very unique appliances that do come in multicolors. But I think stainless steel is here to stay. Some people I've heard, have it's lost its shine, if you'll pardon the pun, because it doesn't take fingerprints and stains.
Oh, that's why I
well.
dislike stainless steel. But there are new products today that help with that.
There are, and there are coatings, but it's a high maintenance material.
Yeah, I agree.
It's not low maintenance.
I do not suffer fingerprints very well in my house. Let's stick with the kitchen. What other trends are you seeing, Damian?
Accessibility continues to be one, so that kitchens are easily used by everybody. And I'm not just talking about people who have any form of handicap. We're seeing how do we incorporate kids? How do kids become a part of kitchens? So the idea of countertops, accessibility, where things can be reached. And
couples over and over again on the TV shows I see, they want a kitchen that accommodates 2 people at once working on it. It's not just one person putting the meal together.
The old formula of the old work triangle in the kitchen, I think that's gone. Right, so the work triangle was your stove, your sink, and your refrigerator.
Right.
All right. I think now that, and it's been this way for a long time in my experience, that it's hot, cold, wet, dry. All right. So you're taking stuff out of the refrigerator, you're doing prep, or you're taking fresh stuff and you're prepping, and then you're cooking. All right. And then you've got the wet, dry aspects of it. So when you're done cooking and you're cleaning up, and you're washing, and you're drying, those things all happen differently. So that's when you see, 2 dishwashers coming into play, 2 sinks coming into play, and that accommodates all of that in a far better manner. So if you plan your kitchen and place things that way, so dry also means dry goods. All right, so it's how are those things kept? And we're seeing kitchen pantries, not very large ones, and then a separate pantry. So what I call the Costco room. See, there's a fancy name for it.
The Costco room.
Yeah, the Costco room.
I think I understand that, where you're buying large amounts of items.
Yeah,
what do you do with them when you get home?
Exactly. There's no room in the kitchen for them.
Right.
But then you have a pantry in the kitchen where you keep the stuff that you access on a more daily basis.
That brings up a good point, because I have a walk-in pantry that's rather large, but when it has all the Bounty and other kinds of things in there, your paper goods, and it just takes up space, you can't even find your food items.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I still think that we underplan storage.
I agree.
I noticed that. Even though I work in this field, I do notice as my designs proceed, especially with a clean slate, we end up either right at the border, then people move in and the storage is filled. And so I always stress that, but it just seems to be this tipping point where people get to, well, that's enough storage. I don't know,
Well,
thank goodness in Michigan we have basements, right?
Then what do you think we do with our basements? That's why there's junk in them. Yeah, but I think it also is indicative of Americans always wanting more and more, and we have too much stuff.
Then we provide so much too.
Don't we?
The whole building industry is all about providing more and more options and seductive stuff.
Yeah, that's right. Also in the kitchen, something I think we really need to focus on, house builders, is pots and pans need to have a better system. You cannot put pot on top of pan on top of, you know,
No, you
and think
can't.
you're going to find things. We need storage systems that roll out,
Yes.
that have a place for the tops and the bottoms,
Yes.
and easy to get to whatever pan
Yes.
you need at that moment.
Oh, I agree. I agree. I like the big drawer concept. So at this very entry level, what we find ourselves, the solutions are just drawers in which things are stacked, as you say.
Yeah.
Not great. But then if you have the space and you have the luxury of the space, those design details are available. You can do things where you can stack your lids, you can stack your frying pans, things that have handles, things that are more pot-like. And then, of course, you know, if you buy carefully as well, then you buy things that stack within each other. So you buy things from the same manufacturer or the same style.
Right.
But then you get people like Catherine, for instance, in our house. All our pots and pans live on the stove because they're used every single day. All the major ones, anyway.
Right.
So there are always 5 or 6 sitting out.
Well, she is a caterer and a chef,
Yeah,
so
so I
that's
think
her.
it's a style thing. We do so many show kitchens, there's no doubt about it,
Right.
where it's all about what it looks like and where did you get that hood and where did you get that tile, and that's the end of the conversation. You know, and where did those faucets come from? So no, I agree. You know, there are tremendous systems to organize with. They cost though, and I think that's the biggest.
Okay.
That's where you get this tipping point. You know, how far do you want to go?
Yeah.